Welcome back to Tipton Bros. Today, we'll provide a brief overview of the grenades utilized by the Empire of Japan during the Second World War. This grouping is in no way complete and merely highlights the most widely documented Japanese grenades. Construction, function of the device, and effectiveness in combat will be discussed. Before we begin, I must disclose that I am no expert and never claim to be. Now, let's get into it. Kicking off this list is the Type 97 hand grenade, objectively one of the most recognizable symbols of the Pacific Theater. Being issued to the Japanese Army and Imperial Japanese Navy, the Type 97 was a further evolution of the Type 91 grenade, which will be showcased later in the video. The Type 97 was a cast iron, simple fragmentation design, packed with 57 grams or 2 ounces of TNT. When fully assembled, the hand grenade weighed just under 1 pound and employed a 4.5 second fuse delay. The Type 97 was underpowered when compared to its allied counterparts, such as the US Mark II frag, often called the pineapple grenade. This lack of fatal wounding capability is due to the insufficient explosive filling and body design of the Type 97. When detonated, fragments tended to be relatively small. This, coupled with a lackluster filling, led to not only a decrease in the size of the kill zone, but the lethality of the shrapnel as well. Unfortunately for the Empire of Japan, the Type 97 would be riddled with shortcomings that plagued its service life, each more critical than the last. Operated by pulling the safety pin, the user would then firmly strike the protective cap against a solid surface, often the helmet, overcoming a creep spring. The pin would then be driven into a primer, which would ignite the 4.5 second fuse, and then the main charge. Now this all sounds great in theory, but when you implement the rigors of combat and its logistical strain, the Type 97 hand grenade begins to falter, specifically in the detonation mechanism and fuse. The detonation mechanism itself was outdated. Being devised in 1931, it could be quite finicky, requiring the user to strike the protective cap multiple times to arm the grenade. The last and most fatal flaw of the Type 97 was its fuse. When stored improperly, or for an extended period of time, which happened frequently, the fuse would become erratic, often favoring a shorter burn time, giving the soldier as little as 1 second or less to dispose of the grenade. Slow burn times, or duds, were also common. Any soldier or sailor alike would agree that an unreliable hand grenade is a terrifying proposition. Japanese munition shipments could take months to arrive at their destination, making the probability of a fuse defect occurring likely, with ordnance enduring the harsh humidity of the South Pacific. The Type 97 hand grenade, despite its many limitations, still managed to be used to devastating effect on encroaching Allied forces, and will always be mentioned when discussing the might of Imperial Japan. The next Japanese grenade on this list is my personal favorite, the Type 4, more commonly known as the ceramic grenade. Developed in 1944, the Type 4 was conceived through necessity. As Japan began to crumble under the strain of war, materials such as iron, oil, and rubber became limited, forcing Japan to formulate an effective alternative. To fill the gap left by the Type 97, the Japanese Navy Technical Bureau created the Type 4 ceramic grenade to take its place. Constructed of readily available porcelain and terracotta, any existing kilns were immediately utilized to produce the newly adopted grenade. The Type 4 varies widely in color, size, and shape. Each kiln fashioned its own unique variant of the weapon while still following the blueprint. Ranging in color from tan, brown, and white, the Type 4 was finished with a thin glaze. Generally, it weighed around 1 pound when fully assembled, being filled with 3.5 ounces or 100 grams of ammonium perchlorate and silicon carbide. This charge was known as Type 88 explosive. The Type 4 had a 4 to 5 second delay that was lit through a match composition ignition system. The neck of the grenade was covered with a rubber boot that was removed, exposing the wood friction fuse plug. The compound would then be ignited by using a separate scratch block. The whole system functioned like a safety flare. Once the fuse was activated, it could not be aborted, and the user must throw the grenade. The chief complaint with the Type 4 was that if it landed on a hard surface, it would shatter, rendering the grenade ineffective. Many were carried on lanyards or in bags, and then wrapped with mesh netting to improve grip. While the Japanese designated the Type 4 a defensive fragmentation grenade, it was more in line with an offensive concussion grenade. The shrapnel the porcelain produced was negligible, but the Type 4 had a sizable concussive blast. Thousands of Type 4 grenades reached the front line before war's end and saw extensive use in both the Battle of Okinawa and Iwo Jima. They are quite common today and can be found for as little as $100, a neat piece of history for a great price in my opinion. Third on this list is the Type 99 high explosive magnetic grenade. You may sometimes find the Type 99 referred to as the turtle mine, or as an armor penetration landmine. While I won't dispute this, it is technically a grenade because of its manual operation. The Type 99 grenade is a very interesting device. The basis of the grenade is a circular cloth cover with snaps that can retain the components needed for function. Filling out the body of the cloth cover is 8 cast blocks of RDX and TNT, a 50-50 mixed explosive, wrapped in wax paper. These blocks would be placed into the canvas and snapped shut by the user. The weight of the explosive filling alone was 1.5 pounds. 4 permanent magnets were attached to the cloth by khaki webbing. This outline is what earned the Type 99 the moniker of Turtle Mine. The fuse was always carried separately and was usually the final component attached to the Type 99 grenade before use. The Type 99 tipped the scales at 2.5 pounds when assembled and had a fuse delay between 8 to 10 seconds. The dimensions of the Turtle Mine are quite compact considering its output. With an overall length of 4.75 inches and a width of 1.5 inches, the Type 99 grenade was slightly larger than a hockey puck. To operate the device, the user would attach the fuse by way of a locking ring, pull the safety pin, and just like the Type 97 grenade, give the protective cap a firm strike. The firing pin mechanism is activated when 2 locking balls align with the groove of the compression spring, allowing the pin to drop. This pin then strikes the percussion cap, lighting the 8-second fuse delay, which sets off the main charge. The fuse of the Type 99 grenade is quite complex in function. Often 2 grenades would be stuck together, doubling the explosive output, being able to punch through 1.25 inches of steel, which is just one more fascinating aspect of the device. The Type 99 was mostly used for armored fortifications or vehicles, but could also be thrown if needed. Developed in 1939, the Type 99 magnetic grenade was used throughout the war and was a favorite of the Japanese Navy. An encounter with the infamous Japanese turtle mine would spell trouble for anyone within its vicinity. Now, the father of the previously mentioned Type 97, the Type 91 fragmentation grenade. Easily the most adaptable grenade platform deployed by the Japanese, the Type 91 could be used as a hand grenade, rifle grenade, or launched from the Type 89 grenade discharger, better known as the knee mortar. Developed in 1931 by the Japanese Army Technical Bureau, the Type 91 was designed with versatility in mind. Using the same platform as the Type 10 grenade, the Type 91 was equipped with a threaded socket at the bottom of the cast iron body. A small supplementary propellant cup would be screwed to the threaded socket for mortar use. For function in a rifle, the Type 91 would be fitted with a rudimentary finned assembly to trap gas as a propellant and improve aerodynamics. The Type 91 grenade had an 8 to 10 second fuse delay to be viable for mortar use. Filled with 65 grams of TNT, the total weight of the Type 91 was just over 1.1 pounds. Mechanical parts and operation are near identical to the Type 97 hand grenade, excluding the propellant cup and threaded socket. Again, the safety pin would be pulled, protective cap struck sharply, overcoming a creep spring, sending the pin into the primer, igniting the fuse and the subsequent main charge. What Japan came to realize is that soldiers often use the Type 91 as a hand grenade and nothing else, making the 8 to 10 second fuse far too long, forcing the soldier to either cook the grenade or risk it being thrown back. Pushing into 1937, the Empire of Japan resolved the problem by beginning production of the Type 97 hand grenade, solely intended for that purpose. While large quantities of the Type 91 did see combat in the Pacific, numbers paled in comparison to the Type 97 and even the last-ditch Type 4 ceramic grenade. Production was gradually cut as resources stretched thin, with the remaining Type 91s being used as rifle and mortar grenades until the conclusion of the war. The following Japanese grenade was a struggle to find reputable information on, so forgive me for any errors I may make. The Type 23 is the most distinct of the Japanese hand grenades, branching out in form from the Type 91 and Type 97. The Type 23 has a cast iron body lacking any vertical depressions, instead implementing 5 deep horizontal grooves. Located on the top and bottom of the grenade are 2 metal rings that could be used for carrying or fastening the explosive to a target. The Type 23 was sometimes referred to as the Japanese pull-type grenade because of its detonation mechanism. In operation, the user would depress the thumb latch, unscrew the threaded cap, and expose a basic pull lanyard. Yanking the lanyard would draw a sanded wire through a match compound, sparking the black powder delay train. Think of it like striking a match. This fuse is estimated to burn for roughly 5 or 6 seconds before detonation. The Type 23 was filled with 40 grams of TNT and weighed just under 1 pound. Despite being one of the smaller Japanese grenades, I have a sneaking suspicion that the Type 23 was equivalent to, if not better than, the Type 97 in terms of lethality. The pineapple-shaped cast of the Type 97 and Type 91 create panels that fragment off when the grenade detonates. These fragments were often too small to deal fatal damage, as previously mentioned. The Type 23, on the other hand, lacks these panels, instead having 5 transverse rings and nothing else. This would, in theory, create opportunities for larger bits of shrapnel, increasing lethality. Of course, with less explosive filling than the Type 97, the kill zone would be reduced, but the point stands. Take this with a grain of salt, as it is only a subjective observation. The Type 23 was adopted in 1934 and served until the end of the war in the Pacific in limited numbers. Often painted black, the Type 23 can be very elusive for collectors today, as it was one of the lesser produced Japanese hand grenades. We hope you've enjoyed today's short overview of grenades utilized by the Empire of Japan during World War II. A second video will follow in the future, covering the remaining Japanese grenade examples and possibly other ordnance. We are a small channel, so a like is greatly appreciated, and recommendations for future content are always welcome. As always, I am no expert and never claim to be. Until next time on Tipton Bros.